So, friend.
Friend.
So my new phrase is that's dope and that's deep. So you told me
Dope
something.
and deep. Yes. Hi, friend.
No, it's so good to have you here with me today doing another episode. And I'm excited because I definitely think that this episode is dope and
It's unique.
deep. I know. And so you were brought up the topic of being a unicorn. I thought that that was so interesting. So please enlighten me, girl.
So, having a 6-year-old daughter, unicorns have become an intricate part of my life. And so I was just wondering, like, what is it that is so special about unicorns? And so I asked my 6-year-old, like, what's special about unicorns? And she's like, oh, they're pretty, they're different, they're unique. And so I started thinking about how do we as people be a unicorn? And I get told that a lot jokingly, people that, oh, you're a unicorn when I'm doing something that they consider to be above and beyond. And I realized that being a unicorn is just being unusual in whatever situation you're in.
Yeah. I think it's really cool that you identify as a unicorn because usually in my situations, when I am a unicorn, it's more of like a you're weird. It's not necessarily like this beautiful thing. It's always this oddball, awkward thing. And so when you brought that up, I was like, yo, like I really am a unicorn relative to just some things, honestly, like breaking different family patterns,
Mhm.
cycles, in my family. But a lot of times, on my end, being a unicorn, it's it's different. It's like I think a lot of times I'm not necessarily getting glorified, but it's kind of like I have to remember that I have to stand on my own, you know, because think about it when if we're talking about little kids, aside from My Little Pony, when we talk about like unicorns or something like that, it's always this glorious creature, but it's standing alone, you
Right.
know.
But I think that's the beauty of it. I think there's been such a negative connotation behind weird. Like I call myself weird all the time, and I don't say it in a negative way. I say it as I'm different. I do things differently, and I'm weird, and I'm fine with it. I say it like a badge of honor. But I think, like you said, standing on your own. When you see a unicorn, typically in a picture or anything like that, you see one. You see one, and it's beautiful, and it's just uniquely different. Whether it's the one from My Little Pony or something you see on the movie, it's like that moment. And I think we have to begin to look at it in a wonderful way. Like you said, if you're the one in your family that's breaking generational curses, that is such a magnificent thing. It's like you're a unicorn, and it's like it's this wonderful thing of either being the first or doing something differently. I know a lot of people that I would consider unicorns. I'm like, oh yeah, you're a unicorn.
Yeah,
You're just out here just doing it. And I think we have to give ourselves more credit for the things that we're doing uniquely different.
yeah. I had to figure out why I kind of thought that or had that situation. And
Mhm.
the reason why my unicornness seems weird or different is because I have more of a collectivistic viewpoint. So I'm more of like we're all together. And I remember like in school earlier on when I was studying like collectivistic cultures, the mindset behind it is if a nail is sticking out, hammer it down
Mhm.
basically. So essentially for us to be together, you shouldn't be uniquely different. You shouldn't be anything different from what's around you. You should recreate and regenerate all of those things that you see. And so my experience of being a unicorn, I've had to really identify myself that I'm a unicorn. I couldn't wait for others to tell me because essentially, being a unicorn, I was bucking against systems in which I was to change,
Right.
you know?
And I think that's the thing. We're all taught this mindset of, don't stick out, be the same. You see the uniformity in a lot of the things we do. This is how you parent, this is how you're a woman at work. So being different has not always been looked at as this wonderful thing. And like you said, it's not something that other people will always point out to you. But I think knowing in yourself, like I'm doing this differently. Like we may be on the same river, but we may be in different boats. So where making an A in school for you may be this, like, oh, I made an A, it's nothing. But making an A for me may be something very huge because I had to bury 5 people. I had to do this. I had to struggle through the semester. So it makes me more of a unicorn because it's like I did this on a different level. And I think that's the thing that people need to recognize in yourself. It's like we're all so uniquely different that when we accomplish these great things, it's okay to me, being a unicorn is like patting yourself on the back. Like, yes, unicorn. I did that, and I did it differently. And it's not to say that anyone else's way is deficient or anything like that, but just knowing what you're up against or what you had to traverse through or anything like that can make you the unicorn. Like if you're that person in your household that no one in your family went to college, it was not even on their radar. It was not something that they could do. And then here you are just graduating top of your class, going to, a distinguished university and graduating top there. You are a unicorn. And it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. So you kind of made me think about this thing, and I'm always like influenced by like philosophies and ideas, and usually it's like social media and memes. But one of the things that I found rather interesting was like this meme or this concept about like moving in silence.
Mm-hmm.
Had you heard that before?
I have.
So I think I've always like struggled with that one because I'm like, well, if you moving, you moving. Like, who are you tiptoeing like for? And so I'm gonna pair that with this concept of being a unicorn. So if you notice, like when you see a unicorn, it's not necessarily that they're like silent or they're trying to, sneak around and not necessarily be there. It's simply that, like our concepts of seeing a unicorn in a movie or whatever, is that they're mysterious, but when they show up, they're showing up in all of their glory. It's like you literally see them in their element, in the wild. You know what I'm saying? And they're like living their best life.
Right.
That is not about their lives in relation to someone else. Simply, I think it's kind of like when you witness it, you're quiet and like witnessing that magnificence. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the silence is not necessarily on the unicorn's part; it's on the person who's witnessing
That's great. And I love that you brought this concept of
it.
moving in silence because I got a lot to say about that. I think that, this whole thing of moving in silence became a big thing because people didn't have a great circle. So it's like you're moving in silence because you're afraid of those times that you didn't and like someone botched it. So, you have this great plan, you don't move in silence, you tell everybody, and next thing you know, someone's coming out with your idea. And I think that was a circle thing. But what I love about this unicorn thing is it's like, even though I may give you the sauce recipe, being a unicorn is what makes my sauce great. So we can have the same recipe, but me being that unicorn makes things different. And I think that's what people have to understand. I don't go against, if you want to move in silence, that's wonderful. I keep some things to myself too, but at the same token, there are some things that I announce to the world. And it's, for me, the part of being a unicorn is like what you said. It's like when you step on the scene, it's like, the silence comes from those that are witnessing it. It's not necessarily that you're moving in silence. And I love that you brought that concept up together because I think that's important for us to understand. And I think we have to look at it. Yes, I am a proponent of some things you move in silence with. But I also believe that came from people having bad circles, which is another episode for another day. But, I think it's important to kind of key that in and bring that up in this situation of being that unicorn. It's not in relation to someone else, it's all about what you're doing.
Yeah, I think that that's absolutely true, and it is amazing. Just reveling in the magnificence of your glory. Um,
Mhm.
because we're all running this different race. But I think to kind of put it into context, just know this idea is strange, especially if you're in like this arena of togetherness and no one
Mhm.
does anything different from anyone else. You really have to wrestle with who you are, what your identity is, what what it is you're even actually
Right.
doing.
And I have a good example of that, and it's really strange. Just go with me for a moment because it's strange. But I remember when the pandemic first hit, and you had all these people sewing masks. Everybody was jumping on that, making designer masks, all kinds of different masks. And the girl that I brought my mask from, she made her mask differently. Instead of it going around your ears, it went behind your head. And I remember every time I would go out in public, people would be like, "Where did you get your mask? I've never seen a mask that does it. I've never seen a mask that goes behind your head. I never seen, you know, she decided, although everyone was doing it one way, she was just going to do it another way. And it was a hit. And that's not to say the other way was wrong or deficient. She just wanted to do it differently. And I think that's what being a unicorn is about. It's about making a conscious decision to say, you know what? I don't have to get nailed down because I'm sticking out and everyone else is nailed down. I can stick out. Maybe build a box around me and make it decorative. You have to make a conscious decision to say, you know what, I recognize that this is different in me, and I'm okay with standing out like
Yeah, that's absolutely cool. I feel like we'll keep talking about this because this is just such a fascinating topic. Girl, I feel like we're gonna have to do some workshops, some something. We're gonna have to do some
that.
conferences,
We're
some
going to have
something.
to. Because we can talk for hours, and I think people are benefiting from what we're saying because this is stuff that they've either thought about or are thinking about now that we don't talk about this unicorn and my unicorn here. I'm looking at it, I'm like, I got a unicorn here. That's a total sidebar. But I think it's important for people to have these discussions because every time I sit down and talk to you, it's like this moment of self discovery. And I'm like, huh, that was what it was. Like I'm trying to figure it out, and then we have these talks, and I'm like, that's it. That was the thing. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Dope indeed.
All right. Thank you
You
so
heard it here
much.
first.
All right,
I
girl.
can't snap, so I do this. I shake my curls. I told you. Those of you that don't watch, I can't snap. So anytime Sherelle is snapping and you see my curls going, it's because I can't snap.
All right, girl. It's been real. I've
It's been real.
appreciated this so much. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll see you soon.